The person taking control of the room may not be the person who understands the problem best. They may simply be the person who sounds least uncertain. And that should concern you, because in modern workplaces, confidence is often treated as evidence. The person who speaks quickly, simplifies the problem, and delivers a clear recommendation appears decisive. The person who pauses, considers the risks, and admits what is still unknown can appear weak, even when the careful person is right. You have probably seen this happen. A complicated issue is being discussed. One person says something like this: "We need to be careful. There are several factors we still need to evaluate." Then someone else says, "This is obvious. We need to move now." The second person sounds like a leader. The first person sounds like an obstacle. And from that moment, control begins to shift. Not because the second person presented better evidence, but because certainty gives people emotional relief. Complex problems create discomfort. They force people to admit that the answer is not obvious, the outcome is not guaranteed, and the real decision may carry real risk. Certainty removes that discomfort. It gives the room a direction. And once people feel that relief, they often stop asking whether the direction is correct. This is one of the most important power dynamics in professional communication. People do not always follow the person with the strongest analysis. They often follow the person who makes uncertainty feel manageable. That is why careful thinkers frequently lose influence. They believe credibility comes from showing the full complexity of the issue. So they mention every exception, risk, every limitation, every piece of missing information. Intellectually, that may be responsible, but from a communication standpoint, it can be disastrous, because while they are demonstrating how complicated the situation is, someone else is offering the room a simple story. And simple stories travel faster than accurate explanations. This does not mean you should pretend to know things you do not know. False certainty is not leadership. It is performance, and eventually reality exposes it. But there is also a major difference between intellectual honesty and communicative surrender. Consider these two statements. Here's the first one. "I'm not completely sure. There are still a lot of variables, and we may need more information." Here's a second. "Based on what we know now, this is the strongest option. The main risk is timing, and we should review the decision if that condition changes." Both statements acknowledge uncertainty, but only one maintains authority. The difference is structure. The first person hands the uncertainty to the room and leaves everyone inside it. The second person contains the uncertainty, defines it, and still provides direction. That is what credible authority sounds like. It does not eliminate doubt. It organizes doubt. It tells people what is known, what is not known, what matters most, and what should happen next. If you're a careful thinker, this is the skill you must develop. Do not begin with everything that could go wrong. Begin with your judgment. Say something like this: "My recommendation is," or "the most likely explanation is ... The strongest option based on the current evidence is blah blah blah." Then explain the most important reason. Not all 12 reasons, the most important one. After that, identify the primary risk. Again, not every imaginable risk, the one that could genuinely change the decision. And finally, explain what would cause you to reconsider. The last step is powerful because it shows that your position is not fragile. You're not defending an opinion. You're presenting a judgment that can respond to new evidence. Here's an example. "My recommendation is that we delay the launch by 1 week. The current version creates a customer service risk that outweighs the benefit of releasing early. If the technical team resolves the payment issue by Thursday, I would support keeping the original date." That sounds confident, but it's not reckless. It's clear, conditional, and accountable. Compare that with something like this: "I don't know, maybe we should delay, but it depends, and there are several things we need to think about." That may come from the same analysis, but it does not create the same authority. The uncomfortable truth is that being correct is not enough. Your thinking must be presented in a form that people can use. Otherwise, the room will often choose the person who gives them certainty, even if that certainty is manufactured. And the problem is becoming more serious. We now live in a world where confident answers can be produced instantly. Presentations can be polished quickly. Data can be summarized in seconds. People can sound informed long before they have developed judgment. So the future will not belong simply to those who can produce answers. Answers are becoming cheap. The future will belong to the people who can distinguish between what is known, what is assumed, and what is merely being said with confidence. But there is a catch. Those people must also learn to communicate their judgment without sounding apologetic. Because when thoughtful people whisper and reckless people declare, reckless people gain control. So the next time you're in a meeting and someone speaks with absolute certainty, do not immediately mistake clarity for accuracy. Ask something like this: what evidence supports this? Or what assumption is being hidden? What would have to be true for this recommendation to fail? And when it is your turn to speak, do not bury your judgment beneath your caution. State the conclusion, name the evidence, define the risk, explain what would change your mind. You don't need to sound certain about everything. You need to sound clear about what you believe the evidence currently supports. Because authority doesn't come from pretending doubt does not exist. It comes from showing that doubt is not controlling you.